بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. وقال الله تعالى ادعوني أستجب لكم. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من لم يسأل الله يغضب عليه. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدعاء مخ العبادة وفي رواية الدعاء هو العبادة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Dear respected brothers, elders, young friends, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again for giving us this opportunity to be in this blessed gathering wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy descends. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us this opportunity once again, just for a short while. And we hear the words and the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Many of the times in our life, we have different relationships, whether it be your spouse, your parents, your children, your friends. We have the relationships in our life, and it's part of our life. And one of the things is that we are dependent on certain people. People are dependent on us. What happens is that people ask us, or we may ask them for something. So, for example, if a person, a friend of yours, let's just say, and he's a good friend of yours, if he wasn't to call you for a while, let's just say it's been a day, somebody that you call, or he calls you every day. If you don't see him, then you give him a phone call. It hasn't been just one day, it's been 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, nearly 10 days have gone, no call, no phone call. And you've been texting the person, probably, on your WhatsApp, you've been messaging the guy, and then you see the blue ticks, and you're like thinking, what the heck, this guy's blanking me, man. He's airing me, right? He's seeing the messages, he's online, but he's not even calling me, he's not even responding to me. So then more than 10 days can go, maybe a year can go, right? But let's just say even 10 days when that guy calls you, and what's the first reaction? The first reaction is going to be what? First reaction is, what am I calling me for? You want to say something?
No.
I thought you'd be happy with that. Has somebody done that to you? So, imagine 10 days ago, your good friend, your best friend, imagine you talk to him every day, and then all of a sudden the guy, he's proper blanking you. And then after 10 days, he calls you. Like, the first thing that you see on your phone, his name, right? You see his name, you'll be like, why is this guy calling me for now? I've been trying to message this guy, trying to call this guy, and he's calling me. Why is this guy? That's the first thing that's going to come to your mind, right? Most of the time, right? Unless, like, some people, mashallah, are some angels that, mashallah, they have no judgment at all. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But that's generally what happens, right? Right? Everybody's nodding their head, so I'm sure everybody's agreeing. But imagine, that sort of relationship. It's quite upsetting, isn't it? And not only that, he asks you for something, right? He wants something from you. He said, oh, bro, I need some dough, man. Whatever, I need help, I need your car, whatever it is, my car's broke down, whatever it is. he might ask for a favor. You're thinking in your head, what the heck? This guy, after 10 days, blanking me. Now he wants something. Forget about, responding to my calls or giving me a call back. He wants something as well. Right? Imagine that. So what would be going through your mind? What's the possibility of you giving or fulfilling his answer, his need? What is the probability? Right? So we have these thoughts in mind. But there is one relationship in our life, throughout our life, that it doesn't matter whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 10 days, forget that, a full year, 10 years, forget even 10 years, your whole life you didn't call this being, this relationship that we have, we don't call that person or that being for what? For all our life, and they are ready to respond to us. Imagine that. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what? Ud'uni, call unto me, astajib lakum, I will respond to you. I will respond to you. Your du'as, I will respond to you. You didn't call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine, not only that, you probably lived a life of sin. You didn't follow any of the regulations, the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never prayed, you never fasted. You did everything wrong in the book. And now, after 60, 70 years, all of a sudden you want to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to say no to you? What's the answer? Is he going to say no to you? He's not going to say no to you. You don't call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your whole life. You call Allah that once. He is ready to embrace His servants. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He say? He says that when my servant, and understand this as well, we don't have much time, unfortunately. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, when my servant, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, when my servant asks about me, what we have to understand is, the Mufassirun, what they mention about this ayah, especially these words, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, my servant, it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing His love. We see many of the times where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses we to show His majesty, His power. But when it comes to His love, He uses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks in, well, the first person is used. My servant. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, about me, فَإِنِّي, I indeed, قَرِيب, I am close. He didn't tell the Prophet of Allah, he didn't tell the messenger, he didn't tell him that, tell them, قُلْ لَكُمْ. He didn't say, tell them that I am close. He said, I am close. Straight. Just to show this is how close we are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ujibu da'wata da'i. I respond. Ujibu da'wata da'i. The call, the dua of the one who supplicates, the call of the caller. Now, understand this as well. We are talking about dua, we're talking about supplication. The word used here is da'wah. Right? Da'a yad'u in Arabic means to call, to make dua, to supplicate. But da'wah also means to supplicate as well. However, this signifies one, basically. Masdar marra is known as. That is signifying one call, basically. Dua can mean generally any call. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says da'wata da'i, so basically the translation that we see commonly is the supplication of the supplicator. But in reality, it is the one call, that one dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds. When the one who's making dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to even that one call. Even if it's that one call. It doesn't matter how many calls it is. You give your friend, right, so many calls, they'll get annoyed. Even your parents will get annoyed. why on earth is this guy calling me for? Right? Why is he calling you? Even your parents may get annoyed. You know, your strong people that you have a strong relationship with. Right? People who you have a strong relationship with, you call them once, that's fine. Second time, okay, what did you miss something? Third time is like, okay, you called me the third time now. Fourth, imagine how annoying that would be. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to call Him as many times as possible. You call me. This is what Allah is saying basically. مَنْ لَمْ يَسْأَلِ اللَّهَ يَغْضَبْ عَلَيْهِ. The one who doesn't call, مَنْ لَمْ يَسْأَلِ اللَّهَ, the one who does not ask Allah, يَغْضَبْ عَلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is angry with that person. Imagine it. With people, you keep on asking them, they get angry with you. You don't ask Allah, Allah gets angry with you. See what the difference is? This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is our creator. So when we want something, first recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recognize that who is the one who will fulfill my need, ultimately. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. He's, when you're ill, when I'm ill, who's the one that cures? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, we have paracetamol, we have medicine and all that. We have, medication, we have the doctors, right? But ultimately, Allah is the one who cures. You have a headache, right? You think this paracetamol is going to cure you. You have it. What if you choke and you die? It's possible, isn't it? Right? Or some people, they have paracetamol, they have medicine, they're not cured. So we're not saying, nobody's saying don't have medicine. First, we recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, read them du'as that, that help us with our illnesses. Many du'as that we can read to help us with our illnesses and our pains. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then we can go to the needs. When somebody's in financial problem, who do we go to? We might go to our close friends, our parents, our older brother, something like that. Right? But ultimately, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will, He will save us from this calamity. When a person is in need, this is when he will realize his feebleness, and this is when he will realize that it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will fulfill my need, ultimately. Ad-du'a mukhul ibadah, and another riwayah, it says, Ad-du'a huwa al-ibadah. That supplication, du'a, is the essence of worship, and in another narration it is mentioned that it is worship. So when you make du'a to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's an act of worship. And just focusing on the hadith mentioned, mukhul ibadah, this means also that it's the essence of worship, meaning that it's the core part of our ibadah. So when we do our ibadah, we have to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we pray our salah, it itself is a supplication. We have supplication within salah itself. When we do wudu, before we do wudu, there's supplication. When we go for hajj, when we go for umrah, when we do tawaf, there's supplications. So this is a big part, a core part of the ibadah itself. And the ulama, they mentioned in regards to this hadith, if I'm not mistaken, Al-Matibi rahimahullah, or the commentators of this hadith, in fact, they mentioned, why is dua the essence of worship? We have to understand three things happen. When a person makes dua, first thing, that when he makes dua, he makes it, for example, Ya Allah, I want this job, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you that job. Ya Allah, I want £1,000, you get £1,000, yeah? Ya Allah, I want a Ferrari, Allah gives you a Ferrari, yeah? Allah, save me from this problem, Allah removes this calamity, right? That's the first thing that happens. So whatever you made dua for, you get it. Second thing that happens, is that you made dua, but you didn't get what you asked for. Instead, you got something else, right? Instead, you got something else, or you were saved from a calamity. Now, for example, a person, he wants a job, which is, let's just say, he's paying 30 grand, yeah? And he really wanted this job, because it pays him how much he needs, how much he wants. Everybody wants a high salary, right? However, 40 grand, yeah? And he didn't get that job. Instead, he got something that was a few grand less. He applied, obviously, he must have applied for many jobs. So he didn't get 40 grand, he got a job which will give him 38 grand. It's 2 grand less, and he might be a bit sad. He might be upset that I wanted this job, this is the one I wanted. I wanted to work for this company. But he didn't get that job. He's not in control of his affairs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of his affairs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best for him. Perhaps if he was to go for the job he desired, right, it might have been worse for his deen. Maybe they wouldn't allow him to pray. Or maybe they would make it difficult for him to pray. You know, some jobs are like that. They'll say, yeah, you can pray, but they'll say, no, you got to be back on time, this and that. They basically make it impossible for you to pray. Or maybe, he would have been too busy in that job, that he wouldn't have enough time for his family. Right? It's more stressful. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him another job that perhaps it was better for his deen. Right? He can pray on time. It's not as stressful. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best for him, even though in his mind he's thinking, I want more money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what he's doing with us. Okay? So the third thing is that you didn't get a job, right? So you didn't get anything basically. That's just an example. Allah didn't answer your prayer, your supplication, right? Nor were you saved from a calamity. So number one didn't happen, number two didn't happen. Right? You weren't saved from a calamity. You basically didn't get anything. You made dua, Ya Allah, I want this. Ya Allah, I want, save me from this financial, difficulty. Or Ya Allah, give me this car, give me this car. You didn't get anything basically. Right? But in another hadith it's mentioned in Musnad Ahmad that a person will come on the Day of Judgment. Yawm al-Qiyamah, a person will come and he will have these piles of reward, right? And you will see mountains full of reward, and people will come and collect their rewards. And all of a sudden, all these mountains full of reward are remaining. That's all that's left, and he's thinking, these rewards are not for me. I didn't live that long. He's thinking, that can't be for me. So he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, who are these mountains full of reward for? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to him, that is for you, my son. And he's astonished, he's amazed, he's thinking, he's confused. Thinking that how can that be for me? How much amal did I do? How can it be for me? Allah will say to that person that, in the dunya, you used to make dua. And I never answered your dua, and instead I gave you reward. And you kept on making dua, and I didn't answer any of your duas. Instead, I kept on giving you reward. Every time you made dua, I kept on giving you reward. Now these duas are mountains full of reward. SubhanAllah. And he will say to Allah, Ya Allah, why did you even accept any of my duas? Should just give me reward. And this is why the ulama they say that this is what it means. That when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, perhaps we may not get something in this world, but Allah still responds. Doesn't mean that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He responds, that doesn't mean that I will give you what you want. It means that I have responded in a different way. That if you don't get something in this world, don't worry, you will get it in the hereafter, and which will be better for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who are happy with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we do not understand this. We go through certain tests in life, and we're thinking, when is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to help us? When is Allah's help going to come? When is Allah going to answer my dua? Right? We are not people who live for this world. We are the ones who live for the hereafter. And when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's not accepted, remember, because of your dua, it's going to be rewarded anyway. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who are happy with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our dua, and He rewards in the hereafter as well. Nothing wrong with making dua like that as well. We can make dua for anything. Anything that is permissible, we can make dua for. Right? And may it be a means of understanding what dua is. We do not understand at times that we can supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll just finish on this last bit. And this, I've shared this previously as well. Just a reminder for myself first, that it was in my Urdu is not too good, so maybe you can correct me. But I remember this alim was mentioning. He says that he says in his bayan, कोई हो उसके साथ अल्लाह के बारे में बात करो. So if you have people amongst you in your presence, then Allah के बारे में बात करो, meaning talk to them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have people are with you, talk to them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk to them about His greatness, right? This is something that we need to do. We talk about everything else, but we forget that we need to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they had this habit, at least whatever they want to talk about, whatever they did, they mentioned Allah at least, so that they have that focus about the akhirah, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the second thing is, that he said, koi na ho, because if you don't have anybody, if you're alone, Allah se baat karo. Then talk to Allah. When was the last time we talked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You guys are Hifqah students, right? A lot of Hifqah students here, inshallah. Right? You're reading, reciting the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that. These are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the great words of Allah. Allah's speech itself. Allah's speech. Imagine that you're reciting that. Build this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're reciting the Quran. And especially when you're in Hifz and you're studying ilm, what happens? Right? You go through difficulties, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make it easy, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understand what you're saying as well in the Quran. Right? What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to you, understand this. And really, this is just a message, a reminder for myself and yourself, inshallah, that build this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk to Allah. Talk about your problems. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep steadfast in His deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity and the ability to build our connection with Him. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانه وتعالى أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.